Hi, hey Russ here. Welcome back to the shop. But today we're going to show you something that you've never seen before. Never on YouTube, ever. What is that? I'm actually going to put my glasses on so I can show you something close up and I can see it. So, okay, don't be disappointed. There's lots more here. I'm going to show you some cool stuff. Just wait. We're going to show you how you can take this Incra height adjustment tool and found another use for it that I really like. You should be familiar. They sell this, and they sell it on the idea to be able to set it up and set the height of your router, table bits, or your table saw blade. And it works real well for that sort of thing. But actually, I use this as a layout tool on my when I'm doing joinery. Most of the time, for years and years, I used a combination square or a regular square. And those work pretty well. But actually, I have figured out that it's not the best tool for the job, believe it or not. I know they got this one too. This is another brand. Works a little different, but you know, it does an okay job too. I used it for a while, but now it sits up on the shelf. But I found lately, I've been trying to use this, and this actually has been one of the best things I think that there is to do. Joinery, mark it out, lay it all out. It's really pretty good for that. Let me show you what I'm talking about and then see if you don't agree. First off, let's go over the scale of this thing. If you look at a regular scale, like on here, I have the 32nd of an inch scale on the lower end here, and you can see how close those marks are together. After a while, those things start to run together, and it's really hard to see. So that 36-inch scale really makes it hard to read. Well, Incra, in the brilliancy, what they did is they actually used two scales for that. You have the scale on this side here that is the 16th of an inch incremented apart and marked out at the inch increment and a half inch and a quarter inch and all that. On the scale next to it, this is also a 16th of an inch apart from each other. But they offset this scale by a 32nd of an inch from this scale. So that means that if you're halfway between 11/16 and 3/4, you're actually going to line up perfectly at 32nd of an inch between the two based on this scale, and you'll be able to see that because the 32nd increment is not bunched up with the others. It makes it much easier to read. So this is really great, especially when you got mature eyes like I do. So anyway, so now that you understand how the scale works, the other thing that really makes this better than one of those type of squares is the repeatability of it. And let's go over these things now. Let me show you how you can use this. First off, the basic thing you do with one of these is, the first thing you like to do is do a square crossed. Make a square line across it. So with this one, as long as you make sure that these two halves are lined up to each other, and you can feel it right here if it was K-Wampus. As long as it's lined up, when you set that on there, this is actually square. And you can just take your marking knife or pencil, put it up here, hold your piece in place, and make your mark. Just that easy. The only thing you want to be careful of, if you're using a marking knife, make sure you got bevel away from your piece because it is plastic and you don't want to cut into it. But it works fine. I haven't had a problem using it this way. Same thing if I want to make a mark on the end. At a certain distance, I can set up how far I want to make that mark down the board. Set it up here very accurately, and I can see it because I can do it right here in front of my eyes. Once I get it set up, I can just hold it up on here like so, and when I feel like it's nice and square and it's holding square all the way across, I can then either mark it or I can draw a line across it again and get a perfect line of what I'm looking for in an exact measurement. Same thing holds true when you go across this way on a short distance. So if I set this up to 7/32 of an inch, which is 1/32 of an inch past 1/4. And if I set this up on here right now, and I take my marking knife, and I'm going to poke a hole right there. So now if I wanted to take and use this for other things, I can use it, reset the scale, move it around. Now I've decided, oh, I forgot to mark that over here too. I can actually bring this back, set this back exactly where it was 1/32 of an inch past that 1/4 inch, and set it up here. And to prove it, I'm going to make another mark right next to the one I just did. And those two are really right straight across from each other. So I did a repeat of it. Sure, they're straight. Come on over and look. You believe me? Okay, that's fine. But yeah, they're nice and straight. So I can do repeatability on this. If I want to hit the center, that's pretty easy to do too. Because all you do is, if I say this board is 7/8 of an inch wide, and I happen to know this one is, but even if it was another increment, and I want to find the middle, and I don't know exactly what it is, like a piece of plywood, I can set this at 3/8 of an inch. Actually, it would be 7/16 of an inch if that is 7/8. So if I can go right to 7/16 of an inch, clamp it down, and make my mark, turn it around, and check it, make my mark, and those two marks are right on to each other. Yeah, it is, honest, yeah. Come on over and take a look. Okay, you don't have to. But anyway, you can take my word for it, fine. But they are, so I can get a nice accurate mark. If I put this on here and made two marks, and they didn't line up to each other, I could take a look and say, okay, from here, that mark is actually further past. That means I'm past the center point. Then all I do is take and back this off 1/32 of an inch, poke it again from both ways until I dial that right in to where they both are right there by each other. Real easy. And the beauty about doing it that way, not only have I now found the center on this measurement, I can actually take a look at this measurement. And I know now exactly to the 32nd of an inch what the center of this board is. So now I have it for further reference if I want it. So that makes it nice to be able to accurately measure to the center and know exactly to the 32nd of an inch where the center of this board is. This is really great. I also took earlier today this board here, and I don't think you'll be able to see this, but I wanted to take, this is exactly a 1/2 inch. I wanted this to have a 1/4 inch tenon on the end here. So that means I have to mark off for the shoulders of what I'm taking off on this. And so what I did was, knowing this is a 1/2 inch, I want a 1/4 inch. That means that each side is 1/8 of an inch. I set my Incra gauge to 1/8 of an inch, and I put it on here, marked it off on both directions, and got my 1/4 inch centered on this by knowing the dimensions to begin with, and just using this to lay out from my outside edge to get the accurate reading of what I want. So there's lots of ways you can do it, and if you want to use this to do your layout, it really works well. And quite honestly, if you wanted to, you could take, let's say you wanted to take a board and you want to know just how wide that board is. I can quick and easily just take this, rather than trying to get a tape measure on there and look at it. I can just bring this in here, drop this down on it, and then snap it down, and now I can read my scale very accurately, and I know to the 32nd of an inch the dimension of this board. And I know that later on, if I need to have that again, I can set it back to that dimension real quick and easy. Repeatability, these things are great. So anyway, I wanted to show you how you can use this for a layout tool, and I'm actually thinking about doing a couple other things with it. It has a notch right here for centering, so I'm thinking about trying to use that with a nail and do some kind of compass with it. Also, I'm looking to make a couple of attachments on here where I can put a pencil on here, and then I can use this to mark it and use it as a marking gauge, or even, this may sound a little crazy, but like take a razor blade here. I was playing with this put a piece of sticking tape on there, double-sided, and I stuck that on there. Like so. And now I have an actual marking gauge that is accurate to the 32nd of an inch. So if I wanted to find a particular dimension on this board, I could set this to that dimension and mark it out on my board here. Nice and easy. So I think I'm going to try to look for some kind of attachment to be able to attach on here to do both either a pencil for marking or a razor blade, so I can actually mark. I don't think it'll be too difficult, and it'll be an attachment that I can just thumb screw it down. So just something I'm playing with. But I think that this height gauge from Incra, it has a lot more uses than meets the eye. Like I said, it's a great little layout tool, even if I don't do anything else with it. But I think I'm thinking about making some different attachments for it. If you have any ideas or suggestions about that, leave them below. I'd love to see and hear about them. So anyway, I want to thank you for stopping by and taking a quick look at this. In the near future, what it really brought this to my mind to show you is that I also want to bring this to your attention. This is the Incra jig. It's called the Universal Precision Positioning Jig. Whew, that's a mouthful. But it's made by Incra, and it's very accurate made. And so it has the same scale setup that you see on the height gauge. It uses the same type of scale where it has the one hashed at 16th of an inch apart, and then it offsets for the 32nd next to that, so it makes it easy to read. And it's very accurate. And when you move it back and forth to make an adjustment to it, when you get done and you're ready to lock it down, not only will it lock down exactly the right distance, but it locks down nice and square so that you can reference this to being always square to where you're trying to measure, like on any fence system, because this is basically an incremental fence. The other thing that's good about this thing that really gives it a lot of potential, I've been using it to make some jigs with it. And you're going to love some of the jigs you see that we can make with this thing. And what makes it really great is I can make a wood jig out of plywood and such, attach this to it because it has so many ways to attach it and to put a fence on here or make some attachment for the end, that this thing is really great to do all those. And when you're done, you can take everything off, take this and put it back away and save it for another jig later. If you need to do incremental or measuring on any kind of jig as you're using it, like a box joint jig, this is perfect. And yet you can still have it set aside to use at another different machine. I have plans on using this on my belt sander, oscillating belt drum sander. I'm also going to set up so I can use this on my bandsaw. I already used it on my table saw and on my dado table saw and on my router. So, and I actually am now thinking about how I can use it on the legacy machine, but that's another story. Stay tuned. We're really going to get into doing some things with this, and it's going to be surprising what we can do. And if you, after seeing some of the things you see me do, you start thinking outside the box too, we'll probably get to do things that we hadn't even thought about yet. And hopefully you'll be able to input some of those ideas too, because I think sometimes when you see somebody do something, you can take it to the next level. It's a lot easier to do. So I think this could actually really turn out to do lots of different things with your help. So anyway, I want to thank you for stopping by. If you like this video, please say so. Most importantly though, please come back again because there's lots more. Heck, I'm not even sure what else we're going to do. I suspect that you and I together are going to figure that out. Thanks, and we'll see you again very soon. Bye.